Thinking Cap Publishing presents Camp Krampus, a story written and read to you by Dave Cap. Part 4. Leo! The only answer I received came from the clanking chains that rang over the screaming gusts of wind that blew ice directly into my face. A burning, fiery pain rippled through my body in waves, and I wished I could have gone back to feeling numb. But still, I pressed on, and as I did, the snow's aggressiveness began to let up. I was finally able to see the outline of the shapes before me. But then, a humongous figure emerged, seemingly out of thin air. Each of its steps came with a thunderous boom. I began backpedaling and tried to spin around, but tripped as the entire world around me quaked in fear. Before I knew it, I was staring up on my back at the starry night sky, the freezing ground shaking with each of the monster's steps. Unsure of what to do, I closed my eyes tight, hoping that maybe, just maybe, if I stayed as still as possible, I wouldn't be seen. And when I opened my eyes, I saw a wooden ceiling. There was no snow around me at all, and it wasn't blisteringly cold. Quite the opposite, actually. Wherever I was carried a warmth that I had never felt before, and I was in a bed so comfortable that I felt as though I was about to melt. "Are you okay, Martin?" a deep, baritone voice asked. "Krampus? Huh, no, not quite," the voice answered with a chuckle. "But I heard chains." "I'm sure you did." I rubbed my eyes. "Where am I?" "You're in my cabin," the voice answered calmly. "You passed out in the snow." "Huh? Where's my friend? Leo?" "He's just fine. Quite a brave thing you did, following him here." I sat up, still wrapped in the heavy plush blanket. "Who are you?" But my words caught in my throat. Sitting in an old rocking chair next to a roaring fireplace was a giant of a man. His beard hung down to his belly, as did his hair, and they both shined whiter than snow. "Santa?" The man, dressed in a weather-worn brown hooded cloak that was ripped along the arms, gestured towards the side of my bed. "Drink that. You'll feel better." On top of the nightstand was a steaming pewter mug. "What is it?" The man laughed at my suspicion. "Oh, don't worry. Yours is the same as mine." He lifted up a mug of his own, drank deep, and gazed into the fireplace. "I feel fine," I objected. But as soon as I pushed the blanket off of me, my body felt the same as it did when I was outside. Just as my teeth started to chatter, I wrapped myself back up in the blanket and felt a rush of warmth run through my veins once again. Still unsure of, well, everything, I brought the mug up to my lips and pretended to take a sip. The man didn't seem to notice. That was, until I placed the mug back onto the nightstand. "Huh! You were out for a while, Martin. Drink. It'll help." This time, when I lifted the mug, I let the steam waft up over my face. And when I finally smelled it, I was sure I'd never smell anything better for the rest of my life. It smelled like all the chocolate in the world combined together to make a cocoa so amazing, so incredibly delicious, that it could only be meant for... "That's from my private collection. Only meant for one night in the year," he laughed, as I eyed the frothy drink, one that was accentuated with a gooey marshmallow top. And I finally took the tiniest sip. There was this sort of explosion of flavor in my mouth. It was like I tasted all different types of chocolate in layers, one after another. Milk chocolate, dark chocolate, caramel chocolate, salted chocolate, chocolate with chili, peanut butter chocolate. I couldn't help but chug the rest of the mug down, and as I wiped away my marshmallow mustache, the warmth that I felt from the blanket stayed with me after I took it off. "Wait a second," I said, remembering why I was even here. "You said Leo was fine, but never told me where he is." "I brought him back to your campsite," the man said as he stood from his rocking chair. "Oh." I looked down to the mug and realized that it had magically refilled. "So if you're real, then is Krampus real?" "Krampus? Who told you about him?" "Mr. Trap." I rolled my eyes. "I figured. That means all the stuff about a naughty and nice list is true then, too?" "Of course it is. But you don't need to worry about that. You've always been on the nice list." "I'm curious," I said, wondering if I was beginning to push my luck. What gets someone on the naughty list, other than the really bad guys? "You know what bothers me most? People who try to take away Christmas cheer. The ones who stop believing so they try to get others to join them." I nodded and took another drink of cocoa, thinking of how Mr. Trap had screamed at Leo about believing in Santa. How stupid would he feel if he was in this cabin right now? "Come on, let's get you back too." And with a snap of his fingers, I was back in the tent. Leo and Eric were totally passed out, and Santa was standing next to me with a burlap sack that was nearly the size of him. He held up his pointer finger to his lips. The sack confused me because there were still 12 days until Christmas. "Thanks for everything," I whispered. "I'm sorry you had to bring us back to our campsite." He laughed deeply at that, and his big belly jiggled like it was made of raspberry jelly. "Don't apologize, Martin Fry. I was coming here either way." After a wink that sparkled, he left the tent. I heard the light crackling of flames, like someone had relit the campfire, and I wondered if Santa had decided to relax for a minute or so. But then came a tearing sound, one that was followed by the rustling of chains. Slipping out of my bed, I peered through the tent's opening, and my mouth dropped. It wasn't Santa at the campsite. Not anymore. No, he had changed. He had changed into Krampus. Instead of feet, he had 2 hooves, and he had 2 curved horns on top of his head that had ripped through his hood. His arms were the size of tree trunks, and his skin had turned a stormy gray. Both of his shoulders were wrapped with thick chains that shimmered in the moonlight. It was then I realized where he was going. He tore off the entrance to Mr. Trap's tent, who screamed at the top of his lungs at what had woken him. Once again, I heard the clanking of chains, and this time they were followed by muffled pleas for mercy. I watched as my teacher was dragged from his tent, wrapped entirely in chains like some sort of metallic spiderweb. After he was stuffed violently into the burlap sack, Krampus darted his eyes made of rippling fire towards me. And as he slung his prize over his shoulder, I could have sworn I caught a smile. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video. Until then, happy holidays, and be nice to each other.